Okay, this kind of video is new territory for me. Most of my previous videos involved theories on existing stories rather than coming up with one of my own. I am taking a leaf out of YouTuber Thor Skywalker for this series. Thor Skywalker is a predominantly a Star Wars discussion channel, but he has done plenty of Star Wars fan fictions as well. Notable examples include one where he speculates what might have happened if Luke stayed on Endor and Vader survived Return of the Jedi, one where Luke and Ahsoka meet prior to Return of the Jedi, and his own version of Star Wars Episode 8. I'm going to attempt to tell my own version of Avengers 4, which I'm calling Quantum Revenge. However, it starts out with Ant-Man, and if you haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, I'm issuing a spoiler warning regarding the post-credit scene of that movie. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. Guys, where are you? What is going on? Hope? Hank? Janet? Nothing happened out there, did it? Ant-Man continued screaming, wondering where the Pym family was, oblivious to the fact that they have succumbed to Thanos' snap. We then see a flux of colors in the quantum realm. Whether Scott Lang, the Ant-Man trapped within the realm, noticed the flux is uncertain. Calm, said a voice, as the flux of colors became more materialized, before we fade to black. Back in Wakanda, Captain America stood up after sitting next to Vision. What now? Banner, still wearing the Hulkbuster armor, asked. We have to pick up, Steve said. Pick up? What do you mean? Banner asked. People are vanishing across the world, right? Steve asked Thor. Across the universe, Thor replied grimly. This means that cities are being devastated as we speak. We cut to the chaotic scene of a New York City. Cars keep crashing because the drivers of those cars keep turning to dust. We even see a couple helicopter crashes. We then cut to a woman on the street next to some busy traffic. Looking around, she saw a car zooming towards stopped traffic. Without thinking, the woman reached out with her hand and the car came to a screeching halt before it crashed. Shocked at what just happened, the woman looked around and saw the road behind the car relatively clear. She then walked towards the vehicle and tried to get a glimpse of the driver within. She saw dust in the driver's seat, causing her to jolt in fear. Looking around, she noticed that some of the cars were on fire. Feeling a mysterious urge flowing through her, she reached out towards a fire and felt a surge of cold flow through her. The fire emitting from the vehicle briefly flared before diminishing in size and stature. Looking around, the woman saw that a massive tractor-trailer was headed her way and did not appear to be slowing down. Holding out her hand, she found herself able to slow the truck down, but it was still making a beeline towards her. Without warning, a bright orange circle appeared in front of her, and out popped a man who sent out a flash of orange and yellow towards the truck, causing the truck to decelerate and eventually come to a screeching halt before her. Turning to her, the man asked, You can do magic? I guess. What's your name? I don't know, the woman replied. How did you get here? I found myself here some time ago. I woke up, and I don't know anything before that. We then cut to Titan, where Tony Stark, badly damaged from his fight with Thanos, was limping towards the craft Nebula came in. Nebula was walking closer behind him. Any chance your vehicle still works? Tony asked her. Slight. What about the vehicle the other guys came in? If it hasn't been destroyed by that moon. Well, I need to get back to Earth, Tony said. I might be able to fix some of these vehicles, but I'm dealing with technology I have never seen before. The king has vanished before my eyes, Okai exclaimed to Steve Rogers, back on Wakanda. Steve sighed, wondering what to say next. Do you know who can take his place? He has a sister, but someone could challenge her claim and kill her in ritual combat. Did someone challenge T'Challa when he ascended to the throne? We then cut to M'Baku, who was carrying two fallen Wakandan warriors towards a Wakandan transport. We then see that Okoye was approaching him, flanked closely by Captain America. M'Baku, we bring grave news, Okoye said. Graver than the aftermath of a horrendous battle, M'Baku said. T'Challa, Okoye said, but then stopped herself. Upon seeing that Okoye was struggling, Captain America said, King T'Challa is gone. I'm told you might have a claim to the throne. Doesn't the king have a sister? M'Baku asked. I don't think T'Challa would want to risk his sister getting killed in ritual combat, Okoye said. What's ritual combat? Steve Rogers asked. It's where certain Wakandans have the ability to challenge the reigning king of Wakanda, M'Baku said. You fight on the edge of a cliff. If you kill the king or he yields to you, you become the king, Okoye elaborated. Is this part of Wakandan law? Steve asked. It's more of a strong tradition, M'Baku said. If Shuri doesn't want the throne, I'll be willing to step up. We then cut to Thor, still with the other Avengers. This is the second Groot I've lost, Rocket remarked grimly. Thor looked down at Rocket and the barely visible ashes of the deceased Groot. He then looked over at Stormbreaker and summoned it to him like it was Mjolnir. Sparks cackled from his hands. All fathers of Asgard, Thor said. I know you've been receiving a lot of requests recently, but I nearly gave my life to forge this axe. Allow me to repay the debt of the one who allowed me to live. With that, Thor sliced off a piece of Stormbreaker's handle. Not a splinter, but not a huge piece either. Suddenly, a gust of wind was felt, and the ashes of the fallen Groot floated up and swirled around the piece of the handle Thor tore off, sparks flying between the handle pieces and the ash. Thor eventually handed the piece to Rocket. If he awakes, raise him as he did before, Thor said. Do you think you could bring everyone else back? War Machine asked. The tree contributed to the forging of the axe, and thus the axe was able to give unto him in return, Thor said. Powerful as it may be, the axe cannot overturn death. But it was able to overpower Thanos, despite having all the stones, Banner said. I did catch Thanos by surprise, Thor admitted. I might not be so lucky the next time we meet. Suddenly, Thor began experiencing a vision of the site of Odin's death in Norway. Ships were descending on the grounds. Suddenly, a fierce woman landed on the ground. You made it, Thor said, suddenly realizing that there was already an encampment in place. Yes, Valkyrie said, from Norway. But we've been hit with another tragedy. You need to come as soon as possible. On my way, Thor said as the vision ended. I've got to go, he told the Avengers present. You're leaving? Bruce asked. What if Thanos returns? You're the only guy who could go toe-to-toe with him. Thanos had one goal, Thor said. He's achieved it. You don't have to worry about him showing up in the foreseeable future. But my people have tasted extinction in recent times, first at the hands of my sister, and then at the hands of Thanos. Choking up, he finished. I've got to protect what's left of them. With that, he raised his axe, the Bifrost descended down upon him, and he was gone. We then cut back to Titan, where Tony and Nebula are working on Nebula's cruiser. I'm wanted by the intergalactic community, Nebula told him. Because of Thanos? Tony asked softly. They don't know the power he wielded over me, Nebula said. I could offer you asylum, Tony said. Give you a disguise. Thanks, Nebula said, a tear suddenly running down her face. We then cut back to the lair of Doctor Strange as a portal opens up and the woman from New York stepped through it, followed closely by Wong, who shut the portal behind him. This place seems strangely familiar, the woman said. It also seems strangely empty. A lot of us were wiped out by a sorcerer named Caecilius, Wong explained. Since then, someone has been hunting those who remained down. Strange and I have been looking for those who could fill the ranks without success. Yet you brought me here, the woman said. Your powers seem to be immense beyond compare, Wong said. I believe you may have been spiritually marked. You performed some ritual in a previous life, and because of that, you forged your body recently. You died not too long ago. Do you know who I was before? No, Wong said. But in time you may come to realize yourself. You have memories of your previous life. Unlocking them is the challenge. At the encampment in Norway, the Bifrost touched down and Thor emerged from it. "Oh, hey," said a familiar, friendly voice. "You've come back from the dead." "Glad to see you survived, Korg," Thor said, approaching the rock man. "Where's Meek?" "Well, a bunch of us started turning to dust out of nowhere," Korg said. "No one knew what was happening. No one knew who was next. It was pretty scary, I'd have to say. Unfortunately, Meek was one of them." "Well, how is everyone who's left?" Thor asked. "Traumatized, and who can blame them?" Korg said. "Fortunately, a nice woman showed up claiming to be one of us. When local authorities showed up, she negotiated with them to allow us to stay here and set up camp." "Do you know what her name is?" Thor asked. "Yeah, she called herself Sif. I wonder if she was basically admitting to being evil." "Why is she evil?" "Well, I recently got around to seeing a movie called Revenge of the Sith, where the Sith take over the galaxy. Of course, she may not have seen that movie." "Where is she?" "She too faded to dust, I'm afraid," Korg said. "Sorry about that." And that is where this part ends. As you can imagine, it took a lot of work to get this together, and it may take me a few weeks before the next part is up. I've actually had a few fanfictions going on in my head. Avengers 4 is obviously one of them. Star Wars Episode 9 is another. I'm also hoping to do a Harry Potter fanfiction sometime after that. I hope you enjoyed watching the story as much as I enjoyed telling it. Feel free to discuss or speculate what comes next in the comments section below.